you for being on Wise Mic'd Up. Here I have Austin, and then also I have my cousin Denzel. We're going to also talk about, just being young and as far as a success. And then as well, we're going to talk about the NBA playoffs. So first, what I want to do is, my first saying is, don't just pray for the blessing, be the blessing. But we're going to start off with Austin. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just tell Wise Mic'd Up, who you are.
That's a loaded question.
Okay. Okay.
As you said, my name is Austin. I was born and raised in northern Kentucky, about 3 miles away from Cincinnati, Ohio. So I never really tell people I'm from Kentucky. Whenever I go out of town, I'm always like, I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio. That's because everyone knows where that is.
Right.
Played sports growing up my entire life. 4-sport athlete in high school. Could have played in college, but I had to get surgery on my ankle, so I decided it's time to hang up the cleats. Do something else.
Understand.
Went on to Northern Kentucky University, where I studied organizational leadership with a focus in psychology. After I got my bachelor's degree, I went straight into my master's program at Xavier University, where I studied sport administration.
Right.
I am currently a community relations associate for FC Cincinnati, which is an MLS soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's basically me in a nutshell. I got my master's degree at the age of 22, and I've just been grinding ever since.
Okay, well, I will say this is a question I have for you. So with what you've gained so far with your degree and then the success you've had with, also feel free to talk about your podcast and what you have going on right now. What type of, talk about the success you've had as being, someone who's starting a podcast and then just being someone who can give advice to a younger audience to, what they could, maybe use in their future or maybe use as advice to, propel them to be that type of entrepreneur or someone who's trying to venture out to do their own thing.
That's very difficult. It was difficult for me because I'm very hard on myself.
Right.
Throughout school, I hated getting B's. Like if I got a B, like I was pissed. Like I would beat myself up and be like, all right, I gotta do better.
Yeah.
But
honestly, yeah.
I was a first generation college student. So like my brother went to college,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't. Like he did finish eventually, but I finished before him. But going to school and not really having that like advice, like what do I do? And I just felt pressured because like growing up, everyone knew who I was. Everyone was like, oh, you're gonna be doing this and you're gonna be doing that. And like I felt pressured by other people to be great.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's how it works with a kind of family dynamic. If you're coming from a family, which Denzel, you could probably attest to this too, coming from a family dynamic that kind of looks for you to be that kind of academic pedestal to kind of, promote, not just like your family, but kind of promote yourself, but kind of looking in the generation we grew up in to finding other ways of success. So how would you describe that and finding other ways of being successful?
I think for me was just being a role model.
Right.
Growing up in an inner city, I was able to see life differently.
Mm-hmm.
I was very fortunate to have both of my parents. My parents have
Right.
been married for 29 years, high school sweethearts. But then like my best friends in high school, like I seen the struggle. So like my best friend moved 7 times in one school year, moving from house to house in the same school district just because his parents couldn't meet ends. Like there would be times when we would want to go do something, but he would have to babysit because their father wasn't in their life.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you see life in a different perspective, and working in a school district, because after I graduated high school, I worked in Covington schools for 4 years.
Right.
And I also became a mentor through a mentoring program through Covington Partners, which is a nonprofit in Covington schools that basically like is there for the students. So basically, being a role model for younger kids is what I wanted to do. I wanted to set an example that I'm just a kid from Covington, and if I can do it, so can you. Because if you can see someone who comes from similar circumstances from your hometown who can do what I did, like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but
yeah,
like,
I mean, go ahead.
Tune it.
Let them know.
I mean,
let
like,
everybody know
who you are,
Shit,
Austin.
I graduated with honors from NKU,
Something you should be proud of.
I graduated with a 3.9 from
Awesome.
Xavier, which is a private Catholic school.
Right.
But during all of that, like, I reached out and made connections. I got my internship. I got all of this. But then I never imagined myself being an entrepreneur.
Right.
I always wanted to work in sports, but I've always had this vision. Like, I always wanted
True.
to, like, start my own nonprofit, actually, that makes youth
Yeah.
sports more affordable for low-income families.
Right.
Because right now, youth sports in America, the prices are outrageous.
Right.
To play club soccer, to play AAU basketball, everything adds up. You got to pay for uniforms, you got to pay for
Right.
shoes, you got to pay for traveling, you got to pay for hotels, you got to pay for the actual like registration fees.
Registration.
And it's like
it's a lot.
not everyone has those opportunities. So I feel like my purpose is to make the world better by
Right.
giving people the resources they need to be successful.
And that opportunity for them to, you know, just have that easy access to compete with maybe the top performers, or, you know, just to compete, just, you know.
Because when you think of like the sport industry right now, a lot of the emphasis is being put on your club sports,
Right.
whether it's club soccer or AAU basketball. Not a lot of focus is going on to your actual high school team.
Right.
It's about getting that exposure, but how can you get that exposure if you're in a situation where you can't financially support that?
True.
So like when people say like, oh, this kid's at risk because of the circumstances they're in,
Right.
that is incorrect. Because I feel like every kid has a promising future. So it's what can we do as individuals to help them get the resources they need to be successful.
Right.
And when I tie all of this, looking back, I'm tying all of this together. It's part of the reason why I started my podcast.
Right.
So my podcast, Ignite Your Why, is meant to be a platform to amplify the voices of authentic people by having genuine conversations of hearing their story, what they've been through, and how they got to where they are, and why they do what they do. Because all it takes is one person's story to inspire someone else.
That's
And
true.
you never know.
That's true.
There could be a little kid who is into poetry,
In the poetry, just
Right?
like me, but, you know.
and he hears your podcast episode,
True.
and he could be, or she could be inspired by that.
Right.
And that's all it takes. It's just one story to inspire that next person. So I feel like a lot of soul searching. It's like sometimes I feel like, okay, like I went to college and like sometimes I feel like I don't even use my degrees.
Oh,
Even though I have it.
yeah. I can understand that.
But it's like, I feel like life is bigger than just my degrees. My
Right.
degrees don't define me.
Mhm.
So it's really having to hone in and really find my purpose and my why. So
Okay, and I would say, like to you, Denzel, just from the, you know, background, and if you want to fill us in on that, feel free to, but talk about your personal story on how just being successful and what you learned that you want to pass on from someone that's younger than you, or someone at your age that you want to, you know, talk about and just say, hey, you know, if you know this, hey, do this, but things of that nature. So talk about your story about just trying to, you know, be successful.
Always follow your own path. Is parents mean well all the time? They really do. Everybody in your family always means well, but you need a person in your life from a young age upwards. I don't even from the age you start talking, 2, 3, 4. That always you can talk to and talk to about your sincere, what you like, what you want to do.
Right.
It's so important, you know, because when you lack that in your life, you end up wasting a large part of your life trying to accomplish something that you don't even want to accomplish. And when you get to that point where you realize you didn't want to do this in the first place, horrible.
Right.
You have to have someone. Hopefully it will be your mother. Hopefully it can be your father. Maybe you got an uncle. Maybe you got a cousin. Maybe you got an older mentor.
Right.
You need someone in your life that you can talk to about what you want to do, what you really feel. Whatever your passion is, your passion can be painting, your passion can be drawing, your passion can be rapping, your passion can be accounting, your passion can
Right.
be lawyer, your passion can be, but you need someone you can talk to about whatever your passion is that can truly try to understand, you know what I'm saying? Because unfortunately, you know, we get these certain ideas put in our head,
right,
that this is the only way you can succeed.
So I would say, I'll pose this question to you. So if you're in a situation where maybe your parent or that mentor is not supporting your main dream or your main idea, from your perspective now, what would you tell your old self, or what would you tell that person that's in that situation right now? What would you tell them? What would they do, or what should their mindset be? What would you tell them?
I would tell them the same thing I told them when I told them what I told them, which is that I think I can do this, but
Not think, but believe.
I understand that, but that's the difference, because it's the difference when you have support
True.
in
True.
whatever you are trying to accomplish. You know, if you lack that support as a child growing up, you're gonna lack the belief. And
True.
you know what I'm
That's
saying?
true.
Like, it takes a strong, I mean, don't get, I mean, because obviously there are definitely people that can overcome that, but everybody can't overcome that. When you, if you express to whoever you look up to, parent, mom, your parents, whoever it is that you look up to, you express to them this is what you would like to do, and you don't have the support, it's tough. You know, as far as,
it is tough.
you know, because you never know with that support at that time what you could launch into, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It takes a stronger mindset than what I had
Right.
at that time in my life. I wish I had a stronger mindset to do some of the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah,
You
and
know what I'm saying?
that comes with being young, you know?
Yeah.
You're developing that mindset to kind of think for your own, but at the same time, you're listening to other people
Listening
that's
to
around you.
And they're telling you.
So strings are pulling you in different directions, and maybe Austin, maybe you can relate to this, but it's strings that are kind of pulling you to, you know, go this way or to believe this. So once you're young and you're trying to reach that point of success, you will listen to kind of outside forces. So for you
Definitely
guys,
as a young person.
how would you feel? I would go with you, Denzel, before I go with Austin. But Austin, go first. How did you feel as far as an outside forces? How much of an impact was it for you to listen to people who were like on the outside giving you advices to accomplish your dreams?
I think for me, like as you grow older, I feel like it gets easier.
True. I would say that, yeah.
Because I feel like as a child, I was trying to please other people.
And that's how it is. That's a big.
You just want people to be proud of you for what you're doing.
Right.
So obviously, like
whether you want to do it,
whether it's sports or whether it's doing something like your parents want you to do, like sometimes like you just do it because like you want to make them proud. And
That's the main thing.
That's exactly what it ain't no sometimes.
It's not a black and white. It's just like
when you're
I'm
young,
gonna make y'all so proud.
I want to make y'all proud.
That's what it is.
Y'all tell me this is y'all telling me this is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
So since y'all telling me this is what I'm supposed to do,
this is what I'm supposed to do, and this is what I'm gonna do.
Cause I want to make y'all happy. I want y'all to be proud of me because you look for your parents' support. It's important.
But then it comes to a point in your life
when you get older, and you be like,
but you have to it comes to a point where you're like, okay, am I doing this for me?
Or I'm doing this for y'all? Exactly.
Figure that most niggas ain't coach niggas. You on that flow and hit no free throws, nigga.